We start with the Inuyashiki family moving to a new house, and let me tell you, these little ingrates are not impressed since the house is smaller than the other ones in the neighborhood. And sadly, the disrespect doesn't end here. They leave the man to work by his lonesome to eat some fast food. So old man Inuyashiki orders some noodles while he continues the work. The following day, Mr. Inuyashiki goes through his daily work routine as well as activities like disciplining some high school punks about proper train etiquette. But what was out of routine is a cute stray dog that he brings back home and decides to keep despite his fam complaints. Moving on, after a visit to the doctor, the poor MC gets diagnosed with a big C and is given 3 months to live. So naturally, he tries to break the news ASAP since time is not on his side. But sadly, his daughter decides to play it cool and not respond. His wife also doesn't pick up, and his son, who was just a bully, hangs up on him, making it acceptable to feel good about him getting bullied in school. After crying on the swing like a shonen character, Inuyashiki tries to break the news to the fam while having dinner, but his not-so-loving lady starts nagging and complaining about the dog. So the guy says, "F it," and goes out to walk with his dog while locking his dog. The man remembers the state his health is in and gets depressed. He tries to run from the dog, but it follows him to a park where he collapses, crying, wondering if his life had a meaning or if his family will even notice if he's gone. Suddenly, he and a depressed Sasuke standing nearby are struck by a mysterious explosion, apparently of extraterrestrial origin. Yes, it was aliens. His organic body gets replaced by an incredibly powerful mechanical body like the Terminator. But still, from the outside, he looks human. Hence, the next day, Inuyashiki wakes up all normal. It's just another day with cancer and a shitty family. If something feels off, 1. He seems thirsty, 2. His glasses are broken but he can see perfectly fine, 3. His chest image looks like my socks, all white and stiff, with no life. However, what took the cake for the weirdest ever was his arm turning into a cannon that shot the soup he had for dinner. And let me tell you, looking at the thing on the wall, I can't blame his hand for shooting it out. While his body continues to do all sorts of wacky transformations, Hanako continues parking. So Inuyashiki takes it out of the house back where it all began. Incidentally, an old homeless man was trying to put his life back on track, make up with his wife, and find a job. After the fair maiden agrees, the good fellow sheds a tear of joy while looking at an old photo, which catches on fire when a group of teenagers with no parents start tormenting the man. Luckily, though, Mr. Inuyashiki mans up and decides to go and help the burning man. Although he seemed out of his league at the start, getting his ass kicked and his head smashed by a baseball bat, Inuyashiki's third eye activates, and his back starts shooting all over near the kids, scaring them off. Now, even though I wish he would have shot these heartless Sekko kids in the foot, it was still satisfying seeing their faces all over the media exposing them. After the dust clears, the man thanks the Japanese Terminator and leaves him with eyes full of tears. Since even though his body is now built different, literally, he still thinks and feels as a human. Now, following the other person that was present at the park that day, we head to the depressed Sasuke's school. His name is Hiro Shishigami, an otaku fella that likes personality more than looks, as he points out while telling his friend how the popular girl in school is, which happens to be Inuyashiki's daughter. After noticing that one of his friends, Ando, has been absent from school, Hiro goes to visit him with the latest One Piece volume. After some jokes and we've talk, Hiro says that he is no longer human and then reveals his new body as well as demonstrates some of his powers like shooting birds and changing the lame channel in the TV store to a more cultured one. He did all this while claiming it was a magic trick. Therefore, Ando was impressed until Hiro started making cars crash in the street, making him realize that they are not just tricks. While Hiro checks a manga, Ando checks Hiro's back for a second before Hiro closes it and tries to convince Gon's fanboy to return to school by commonly offering to kill the student who beat him up. Sweet Ando, however, is fearful of Hiro's mental state and powers as he recalls a chap when they were young. How could someone's death bother him if he didn't know them? Something quite understandable and logical if you think about it. It is also very problematic as it shows a complete lack of empathy, a problem that soon manifested when the antagonist left his buddy's house. Hiro picked a house at random and casually killed a woman and her husband, who, in turn, killed the kid via the father's dead body when he was trying to protect him. This experience made Hiro feel alive, as he puts it. Soon after, the daughter came home, and Hiro threatened to kill her. He then started to make ideal chit-chat about One Piece and other stuff, but the girl wasn't having it and kept crying. Incidentally, Inuyashiki hears her screams of fear. He drives following the voice until he hears her die. He finally arrives at the house only to find it full of bodies and Hiro, who thinks that he's the grandpa, so he shoots him in the head. As the psycho killer leaves, however, Inuyashiki has already recovered and stands at the doorway, much to Hiro's amazement. Surprised at Inuyashiki's recovery, Hiro uses the jets in his back to fly off. Inuyashiki realizes that the kid has undergone the same metamorphosis as him but cannot understand his motivation. Neither knows if he could stop him or not. Hiro again visits his boy who still refuses to return to school. Meanwhile, Inuyashiki sees some thugs take a young man into an alley. He follows them to ask them calmly not to do anything that they would regret, but the thugs refuse. Seeing the old man alone standing like a goofy NPC with no weapon in hand, which he doesn't need, by the way, as his fists are the ultimate weapon, and although he throws them around like a toddler, the enhanced physical strength does the job. He then hears the voices of people trapped in a building on fire. Tries to invoke the fly mechanism he saw Emo Sasuke used desperately, trying. He sings the Astro Boy theme song and takes off but has difficulty controlling the jets. Mr. Inuyashiki eventually manages to reach the building to rescue those trapped inside. And before he leaves, the super firefighter asks the people not to tell the police about him, and then he walks away with happy tears falling. Back with the kids, Hiro finally convinces Ando to return to school. But when bullies threaten him, Hiro, living up to his name for the first time, intervenes and starts crushing the main guy's ham until he apologizes, humiliates himself, and vows not to come near his boy ever again. Later, after school, Hiro heads to the roof with his boy to kill the bullies at a distance, which kind of was a big flex rather than a protecting his buddy moment, if you ask me. Ando saw right through it, I think, and he called him for it when Hiro was describing his many powers, including control over electronic devices like countries' nuke systems, internet, ATM, etc. Flabbergasted, the secondary character mans up and says that he can no longer be friends with someone who kills and steals. Hiro respects his decision and walks off peacefully due to the long history they share. However, a random NPC family and kids did not escape his frustration. Meanwhile, Inuyashiki discovers his healing power when he revives a cat that had been run over. Elsewhere oh yeah, a young woman working in a cafe becomes engaged to her boyfriend, Satoru, who doesn't look like a charmer nor is rich. He is just your average man, which gives hope to the rest of us out here. However, the sweet Inoue catches the eye of a Yakuza boss named Samajima. On the way home, Inoue gets abducted by Samajima's men. Later, she's injected with drugs for the big lug to have an easy time with her. But luckily, the fair maiden is a fighter. She headbutts the ugly bastard and runs to the other room where she finds a sword to protect herself while sweating wildly. Miss Inoue manages to slit the guy's wrist when she trips on the ground, and blood then starts shooting out like a fountain, which doesn't surprise her as this man seems to eat steroids for breakfast. Anyways, she capitalizes on that opening and escapes back home to Satoru, who had been wondering what happened to her. As the couple embraces each other, trying to process what happened and what to do next, Samajima and his men burst into their apartment to take the woman. The man tries to offer them money, but Samajima isn't chasing a check, he's chasing a chick. And so, the jackass begins to choke Satoru. But suddenly, Inuyashiki arrives at the apartment and disables the men. Inuyashiki begins to crush Samajima, who pulls out a gun and shoots Inuyashiki in the head, causing him to collapse. When he wakes up, he's alone in the apartment with a dead Satoru. But Inuyashiki manages to revive him and then uses the guy's phone to locate the gang and tells them, I have a very particular set of skills that make me a nightmare for people like you. Call ends after tracing the call. Inuyashiki flies to Samajima's location, only to find him at a Yakuza meeting. Upon seeing an old man casually walking in without a shirt, the Yakuza leaders were like, Nani? Who are you? However, the Japanese. Liam Neeson didn't bother with them and resumed to call out Samajima. Suddenly, Inuyashiki throws a killer punch at the big bastard. When the rest of the Yakuza storm the room to help their crew member, Inuyashiki's cyborg body self-defense mechanism activates, and laser beams from his power pack blind and maim the men, leaving them all crippled for life. He then tracks down Famino, heals her as well as clears her from all the drugs, and then flies away with her. Upon realizing he has no money for the taxi, finally, the lady reunites with her beloved in the most heartwarming manner. In the days following, the media reports of the attack on the Cut and Cad crime syndicate and that another home in the Subunami ward got attacked by a type of firearm, but there was no sign of bullets, which makes Amito freak out as he knows one person capable of such a thing. Meanwhile, at school, the wee boys are suspected by the other students to be responsible for the deaths of the bullies. Back in the otaku household, Hondo tries to snitch on his former friend but cannot bring himself to do so. After reading about people with serious illnesses being miraculously cured, Homeboy suspects it's his buddy but dismisses it immediately after remembering how the edgy kid is. That said, this makes him realize there may be others like him with similar powers. And so he does what the police couldn't do, a quick Google search, giving him the idea to scream out that he's about to be killed and then laid back, letting the feeling of how stupid he looked while doing the cry out for help sink in. That was until someone rang the bell. Yes, sir, it's the old G himself standing on the doorstep, ready for the rescue. Under storms out of the room and lets Mr. Inuyashiki in. The kid wastes no time and cuts right to the chase, telling him that he knows what he is and how he saves people. With no other option, the old man admits who he is and confirms that indeed he was helping people, since he refuses to believe that he has become a weapon of destruction, which makes both men burst into tears. Also, upon realizing how good-hearted and righteous Mr. Inuyashiki is, Ando tells him about his boy and what he was up to and vows to help the old man stop the rampaging team, even if it means killing the latter. Back at school, the boy's classmate Shin confesses her feelings to Hiro, who teases her, thanks her, and then leaves without elaborating any further, stun-locking the chick. Soon after, Hiro goes to visit his father and step-family for his birthday. Nothing remarkable about it, but one thing worth mentioning, he for sure doesn't look like his dad. After the birthday party, Hiro goes back to his mother's house, and right before they shut their eyes, Hiro's mom breaks the news to him that she has cancer and only months to live. The two embrace each other and let their emotions loose till dawn. Meanwhile, Ando gets Inuyashiki to test his powers but he has trouble controlling them. Anyways, the next morning, the mom calls her son to tell him she's been miraculously cured. Later, Hiro, using his powers, secures a big amount of money to buy a new, nicer house. On the other end, Mr. Inuyashiki and his new sidekick head to a local hospital to treat kids with cancer. At night, while watching the news and seeing how his mother is repulsed by the serial killer's actions, Hiro vows to stop killing for her sake. However, as the saying goes, police surround Hiro's home the next morning and attempt to take him into custody, but he manages to throw them off him like Neo in that one good Matrix movie. Anyways, after Hiro escapes the grasp of the police and flees, he runs into Shion, the girl that likes him at school. Everyone knows that Hiro is the serial killer as the news and media were talking about this discovery all day long. Now hiding in the lover girl's house, Hiro learns that Shion has cancer just like her parents who died from it. And the little doesn't seem interested in treating it. What he is interested in, though, is making finger signatures at the people letting him stay in to see how he feels. Luckily, the next day while having breakfast, we see he didn't finish them. On the other end, we see Ando informing Hiro of a new discovery. The hero integrated his mobile phone into his electronic system and gets a new Yoshiki to do the same by revealing a plug-in under his finger, which made him freak out as if having a plug-in under a fingernail is more wacky than having an 8 pull balls in his head. In testing the communication distance, Inuyashiki flies as high as an orbiting satellite, creating a very sick frame worthy of a screenshot. Back to Earth, Hiro is crying in a dark corner over his mother, who is being questioned by the news outlets. And to make matters worse, he finds out that people are insulting his mother on 2chan, ashamed at her son's actions, and hounded by the media. His mother ends her life that night. Hiro takes flight, screaming in pain and regret. The next day, he goes to his father's house, finding the media talking to his father outside the house. He kills them in front of his father with his finger guns and machine handgun, making his old man scared for his life. After Hiro leaves the scene, he resumes seeking revenge against everybody on the internet who posted insults and hate threads. Funny enough, his first victims look like how you would imagine a 4chan user would look like, from meat losers living off their parents to school kids and office workers. No internet troll was safe. He kills them by hacking their computers and shooting them through their computer screens. The mad killer returns to Shien's house, overwhelmed by recent events. He heads straight to his room to cry himself asleep. When he wakes up later at night, Lover Girl enters the room to comfort her hubby and tells him that she hopes they catch the real killer soon. Hiro, though, admits to Shien that he is the killer, but she refuses to believe it. He tells her about the railway incident, the pleasure he felt when life was erased, and how alive he now feels at taking other people's lives. Ever since he stopped being human and turned machine, he even takes a razor to demonstrate his tough body. Yet she still refuses to accept that he is not human, claiming it's just a magic trick. So Hiro carries her into the sky, telling her that he will keep killing everyone till there is no one left in the country, and starts to loosen his grip. Rather than fear for her life, she fears the hero will leave her and begs him to stay with her and her grandmother. Hiro realizes this female simp is the last person left who truly cares about him. Hence, he promises to stay with her and even change his ways. Instead of killing, Hiro decides to save the lives of people who are about to die, ending this thriller fly on a high note with Shien being the second person to be treated by him from cancer after his mom. Somewhere else, a lady with no one in her life except her old mother is talking to her colleague who tries to comfort her for being given a couple of months to live. She sits in a park and starts shouting about how she wants to live. But when it gets a message to meet someone able to heal her, so she heads over to an empty location on the off chance it's true. And she finds no one, disappointed. She shakes her head to find Hiro standing there. The lad heals her and asks nothing in return but a tweet to let the word spread so more people step forward to ask for help. From that point on, Hiro begins healing people daily, bringing much joy. Shin, which in turn, makes him feel good. However, their blessed time only lasted 2 months till the police managed to track him down. Shien goes to the kitchen to have herself some water, but the FBI says no water for you. She tries to give her boy a head start and warn him, but the police squad doesn't give a damn as they were shooting as soon as they open any door. Hiro fires back and uses his hand cannon to create an opening under the intense attacks to grab the bodies of Shien and her grandmother and flies off. Later, using his healing power, he restores them to life before flying away in tears. Although something major like this would be all over the news, the next all the news was about a meteor heading towards Earth, a big rock that the US said will take care of it. At night, we see Inuyashiki's daughter talking to the neighbor's son about his dream of becoming a mangaka, just like his father. And funny enough, the guy's name is Oda. When she gets back to her room, Mari starts working on her manga, vowing to win an upcoming manga competition that young Oda wants to participate in. Meanwhile, in the other weeb room, Inuyashiki asks about what his daughter is like in school. Ando tells him to put it simply, "I'm a loser, she's popular." End of story. The next day, while Mari is heading back home, she's surprised to see Ando walking and talking with her old man, whom she herself stopped talking to lately. Intrigued, Mari follows them to a hospital where she discovers that her father is the mysterious miracle healer. She continues to follow them to a dark alley where she sees her dad take off his shirt to fly off and help people in a burning building. That evening, Mari tells her parents that she wants to write manga rather than go to college, and Inuyashiki supports her decision, surprising her. Back to the edgy kid, Hiro decides to head to the police station. He kills the man at the door and resumes his assault inside the police station, killing every officer but the guy that tells him he can't win. So Hiro shoots him in the leg and walks away, saying, "Just watch me." As the madman leaves, he is shot by a sniper and fired at by a police assault team, and the media recorded it all. Unconscious, his self-protection mechanism raises him off the ground and fires, wiping out the entire assault team and surrounding police. Hiro stays unconscious for 10 minutes till it started raining, and water entered his mouth, giving him fuel to rise yet again. After shooting the last 2 cops, The one guy from earlier declares defeat, but Hiro leaves him again, saying, "It's not over yet." Following the events, the Inuyashiki family watches TV news of the attack on the police station by the not-so-heroic Hiro. As the day goes on, everyone continues their daily routines normally, with the chief police saying they won't let this criminal get away with his actions, as from this point on, he is an enemy of the state. Ando tries to call his boy and reason with him, while the old man tries to locate him, but to no avail. He has blocked all communications leading to him. Suddenly, Hiro announces on all broadcast television stations that since this country will not leave him be, he will be declaring war on the country and vows to kill the entire population of 120 million people. He repeats it twice and thrice before the massacre starts. He begins killing people at random in the streets of Shinjuku. They all fall like flies, and even his fawn girls weren't safe. He then pulled a Chad move. He called a TV presenter, telling him that he never liked him and then killed him. Truly a menace. However, this sick move soon proved to be an error, since Ando realized that Hiro's using smartphones to kill people. And through Inuyashiki, he issues a public warning, which managed to save randoms and a little chubby kid that had the shittiest luck of being number 35 on Hiro's list. That said, upon realizing that Ando is working against him, making him his main enemy, Hiro changes his tactics and begins killing people via TV screens till he reaches 100 on the KDA count, calling it a day and a test drive for the real thing tomorrow. As he threatens to start killing 1,000 people a day, moving on. Meanwhile, Mr. Inuyashiki rushes to stop him but gets stopped by Ando, who tells him it's too late to take any soldier. Back at home, the kids get ready to go out to school, which blows my mind, like the bodies of 100 people are still fresh on the streets, and they still send kids to school. Anyways, we see Hiro offering to take Shion and her grandmother away, but she refuses and asks him to stop the killing. The next day, Hiro gets straight to the grind and starts crashing airplanes into the city because how else is he going to hit that 1,000 milestone? True gamer indeed. Hiro crashes multiple passenger airplanes into Tokyo. However, Inuyashiki manages to save some airplanes by landing them in the bay. Meanwhile, Mari is trapped in a burning building and telephones her father for help. As Inuyashiki is about to fly to save her, the madman finds him. After a brief discussion, Hiro realizes that they were both in the park when they were struck by a mysterious explosion, which resulted in them metamorphosing into the cyborgs that they are now. However, Inuyashiki has become a hero, while ironically, Hiro became the villain, making him lose his mind and attack Inuyashiki on the spot. They have a Mexican standoff, both lads shooting at each other with their handguns. The goofy gunfight then evolves into an aerial battle. The old man starts dodging cars and missiles coming at him from all sides, left and right. Mari calls her dad one final time to tell him to inform everyone that she loves them and that she loves him very much. Mr. Inuyashiki starts screaming in despair as he tries to reach his dying daughter, but Hiro was in his way. Both lads are evenly matched. They battle with all of the comprehensive internal weapon systems available to them till the point both emergency systems kick in and start battling each other. Inuyashiki's system pulls a slick move where it destroys a satellite and hides behind its parts to jump Hiro and break him apart. Eventually, both systems run out of fuel and fall back to the ground. Luckily, Inuyashiki falls into a river, refueling him. He reaches Mari's lifeless body and desperately tries to save her. After trying multiple times and going through all the stages of grief, from sadness to acceptance, Mari suddenly breathes again and opens her eyes to find her father there. Inuyashiki embraces his daughter and flies her to safety, then goes to save other victims during Hiro's attack on the city. Meanwhile, two young women come across the severely damaged body of Hiro in a laneway, asking for water. Later, when Inuyashiki goes back home, he sees the whole family standing on the side. They have seen what he did on the news and now question what he is. So, the old man reveals his metamorphosed body, remarking that he may only be a mechanical copy. Then, he apologizes to them for hiding it and gets ready to step out. His wife, however, stops him and asks about what she wanted to do during their honeymoon, which turns out to be a visit to his sex museum. Yep, this lady is a bona fide freak in the sheets. If this series taught me something, it is to never judge a book by its cover. Likewise, The family also realizes that they shouldn't judge a book by its mechanical sheets and accept the old man as he is. Soon after, Ando gets back home. He finds Hiro standing in his room menacingly. However, the smart weeb changes the mood fast by bringing up the latest Jump volume, which the armless boy checks using his feet. Even though Hiro tells his boy that he has come just to hang out like the old times, Ando still freaks out and goes to the bathroom to piss himself and calls the protagonist of the story. So Hiro leaves with tears in his eyes. Later, the family spends some time together, closer than ever. But after hearing news reports of the impending approach of a meteor to Earth, Inuyashiki decides to do what he can to stop it. And likewise, his daughter tries to stop him from leaving, but she fails as he flies to the skies like a Giga Chad. When he reaches the meteor, Mr. Inuyashiki starts breaking it apart and blasting it, but soon realizes it's all for nothing. Hiro suddenly appears and reveals the mechanical body self-destruct button, and asks Inuyashiki to push it for him since he obviously lacks the arms to do it. The old man asks Hiro why he is doing this, and the latter says there are also people on Earth that he wants to save, such as Ando and Shion. Inuyashiki informs the weeb of this, making him cry because you can call the edgelord whatever you want, killer, psychopath, crazy, evil, and you would be right. But one thing is for sure, he should be called a real friend. Anyways, Inuyashiki helps the real one self-destruct, but it is not enough. Even when the lad tries to be a hero, he fails, thus leaving no choice for the real hero but also to self-detonate to complete the task. Blowing the meteor off course and us to the credit scene. Following these events, Inuyashiki's son learns to fend off bullies and marries a mangaka who is selected for publication. I'd only wish for Ando to hook up with Mari, seeing how close he was to her father and how he enjoyed her manga that probably reminded him of both his lads. But oh well, I guess not all stories have Disney endings.